Every combat model predicted the human would fail within 90 seconds. What followed forced the arena to reconsider how survival is actually measured. Look, I have been running betting pools in the Obsidian Coliseum for 17 cycles now, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that I have seen it all. Every species, every fighting style, every desperate fool who thinks they can make a name for themselves in the arena. Krelvox, that is me, has processed more wagers than most beings have had hot meals. I have watched champions rise and fall. I have seen underdogs get crushed in the first 30 seconds. I have cleaned up more biological fluids than I care to remember, and let me tell you, some species bleed in colors that should not exist in nature. The Colosseum sits on Nexus Station, right where 5 major trade routes intersect, which means we get fighters from every corner of the galaxy. We get the proud warriors seeking honor. We get the desperate ones seeking credits. We get the psychotic ones seeking, well, I try not to ask what they are seeking. The point is, this place has seen everything from Kragoth berserkers to Silitip monks who fight in complete silence. Nothing surprises me anymore, or so I thought. It started 3 days before the Grand Melee, when my assistant Plix came scuttling into my office on all 6 of his legs, chittering like he had just seen a ghost. Now Plix is a Vorthan, and Vorthans do not get excited easily. They are a practical species, excellent with numbers, terrible at parties. But here he was, mandibles clicking so fast I could barely understand him. Boss, you need to see this," he said, shoving a data pad into my primary manipulator. The registration list just updated. I glanced at the screen, already bored. Another Thornclaw warrior, probably. Maybe a plasma-born if we were lucky. Those always put on a good show, even if they did tend to melt the arena floor. What am I looking at, Plix? Third name from the bottom. I scrolled down. Then I stopped. Then I read it again. Because surely my translation software was malfunctioning. Human? Human, Plix confirmed, bouncing on his leg clusters. I set down the data pad and fixed him with my best skeptical stare, the one that has 3 eyes participating instead of just 2. You dragged yourself all the way to my office to tell me that some suicidal mammal signed up for the melee. Plix, we get suicide cases every season. Remember that flibber who thought he could win with the power of positive thinking? They had to scrape him off the ceiling. But boss, it is a human. When was the last time we had a human in the arena? He had a point there. I had to admit. Humans were rare in the fighting circuits. Oh, they showed up in other places. Sure. Human merchants. Human engineers, human diplomats with their weird fixation on handshakes and eye contact. But fighters? The species was barely 6 feet tall on average. They had no natural weapons, no armor plating, no venom sacs. Nothing. They were soft, squishy things that broke if you looked at them wrong. The galaxy had been in contact with humans for maybe 40 years, and in that time they had made a name for themselves in trade and technology, not combat. How long do you think this one lasts? I asked, already pulling up the betting interface. I give it 90 seconds, tops. Plix tilted his head, considering. I am feeling generous. 2 minutes, but only if the first opponent toys with it. I started setting up the prop bets. Time until elimination, method of defeat. Whether it would cry, humans were emotional creatures. Everyone knew that. They cried at the drop of a hat, over things like sad songs and reunion videos. I figured the crowd would enjoy watching one break down in the arena. Morbid? Perhaps. Profitable? Absolutely. The preparation hall beneath the Colosseum smelled like violence and poor life choices. 63 fighters from 40 different species, all crammed into one massive chamber, sizing each other up like predators at a watering hole. The air hummed with tension, growls, threats in a dozen languages, and the occasional burst of bioluminescence from species that communicated through color patterns. I stood in my observation booth above it all, datapad in hand, watching the chaos with the detached interest of someone who had long stopped caring about individual survival rates. Then she walked in, Vera Kine, according to the registration. Human, female variant, although I had no idea if that mattered for their species. She stood, maybe 5'7", which I had to convert from their ridiculous measurement system. She wore simple gray combat gear. Nothing fancy, nothing modified. Her hair was pulled back in a tight braid, dark brown like Terran soil. No cybernetic enhancements that I could see. No obvious weapons, no power armor. Just a human. The reaction was immediate, and exactly what you would expect. A Thornclaw warrior, 8 feet of muscle and bone spurs, actually laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding together in a planetary crusher. They let a grooming snack into the melee, he rumbled, jabbing one of his companions with an elbow the size of my head. I have eaten tougher things for breakfast. Near the equipment racks, a pair of Kron twins hissed their amusement, their serpentine bodies coiling around each other. Look at the soft skin, one said. Does it even have an exoskeleton? Internal bones only? What kind of evolutionary mistake is that? Vera did not react. She walked straight to the registration console, scanned her identification chip, and moved to the staging area. No banter, no threats, no posturing. She just existed there, like she had every right to be in a room full of professional killers. I activated my comm link. Blix, pull up the human's medical scan. Already on it, boss. His voice crackled through my earpiece. Oh, this is sad. Bone density is barely adequate. Muscle-to-weight ratio is nothing special. No redundant organs, no accelerated healing factor, no natural armor whatsoever. Boss, I think this one might not even make it to the arena floor. The stress of the entrance tunnel might trigger cardiac arrest. I watched Vera move through the mandatory weigh-in. The scales registered her at 68 kilograms. 68. The Thornclaw warrior who had mocked her weighed in at 240. Bastion Prime, the reigning champion who lurked in the corner like a mountain with anger issues, probably weighed close to 400. This human was going to get pulverized. Current odds on the human? I asked Plix. 200 to 1 against survival past the first round. 500 to 1 against making it to round 3. We are not even bothering with odds on her winning the whole thing. Nobody is that stupid. Good. Keep it that way. I made a note on my datapad. Humans were novelties, and novelties drew bets from drunk patrons with more credits than cents. We would make a ale off this. Down in the preparation hall, Vera had moved to a quiet corner. She was stretching of all things. Long, methodical movements, like she was preparing for a light exercise session instead of a fight to the death. A plasma-born drifted past her, its semi-solid form flickering with barely contained energy. It paused, regarded her with what might have been curiosity or hunger. I could never tell with that species. Then moved on, apparently deciding she was not worth the effort. The announcement system crackled to life. Fighters, report to staging zones. The grand melee begins in 20 minutes. May your gods show mercy, because the arena will not. Vera stopped stretching. She rolled her shoulders once, twice, then walked towards staging zone 7 without hesitation, without fear, without any visible emotion whatsoever. I updated my notes. 90 seconds. I was sticking with 90 seconds. The arena doors were 4 inches of reinforced durasteel, designed to withstand anything short of a plasma cannon. When they sealed shut, they made a sound like the universe itself saying, "You are on your own now, good luck with that." I had heard that sound thousands of times, and it never got old. The finality of it, the commitment. Once those doors closed, there was no backing out, no rescue, no second thoughts. You won or you died, or, if you were particularly unlucky, both. The crowd roared. 15,000 beings packed into the Colosseum representing 100 different species, all screaming for blood in their respective languages. The translator systems could not even keep up. It just came out as a wall of noise, primal and hungry. I loved it. Nothing made credits flow like a good bloodthirsty crowd. The grand melee format was simple and brutal. 63 fighters entered. Pairings were random. Winners advanced. Losers got carried out. No rest between rounds unless you earned it by winning fast. The whole thing ran until one fighter remained standing. Average duration? 6 hours. Average survivor? 1. Vera Kane stood in ring 7, and across from her, grinning like he had already won, was Thornclaw warrior Grix the Render. Yeah, that was actually his title, the Render. He had earned it by tearing his opponents into component pieces, slowly, for entertainment value. This is not a fight, it is an execution, Plix muttered in my ear. Should we alert medical to have the cleanup crew ready? Give it a minute, I said, but honestly, I was thinking the same thing. The bell rang. Grix charged immediately, because Thornclaws were not known for their tactical subtlety. 8 feet of rage and bone spurs came thundering across the ring, claws extended, already preparing the swing that would separate Vera's head from her shoulders. It was a classic Thornclaw opening move, overwhelming force, maximum intimidation. Usually worked great. Vera moved, not backward, which is what any sane being would do when a living weapon was charging at them. Sideways, she slipped past Grix's initial swing with maybe 3 inches to spare, and as she moved, her hand shot out and grabbed one of his arm spurs. Then she used his own momentum against him, yanking hard and sending him stumbling forward. Grix slammed face first into the arena wall with a wet crunch that I felt in my teeth. The crowd went quiet. Not silent, but that confused kind of quiet where 15,000 beings were all thinking the same thing. Did that just happen? Grix spun around, each oar dripping from his shattered nose ridges, and he was not grinning anymore. Lucky, he snarled. He came at her again, but this time he was angry, which meant he was sloppy. Vera ducked under a wild haymaker, stepped inside his guard, and drove her elbow into his throat. Thorn claws had reinforced tracheas, so it should not have done much, but she hit the same spot twice more in rapid succession, precise little jabs that made Grix gag and stumble backward. Then she kicked him in the knee. Now, human legs are not particularly strong by galactic standards. They do not have the hydraulic power of a crone, the coiled muscle of a vorthon. Nothing special. But Vera kicked that knee like she knew exactly how thorn claw joints articulated, exactly where the weak point was, exactly how much force was needed. The knee bent sideways with a crack that echoed through the arena. Grix went down, roaring in pain and fury. Vera did not give him time to recover. She was on him immediately, raining down strikes on his head, his throat, his eyes. Not powerful strikes, but targeted ones, persistent ones. Grix tried to grab her, but she twisted away. He tried to gore her with his head spurs, but she was already somewhere else. It was like watching water fight rock. The rock was bigger, harder, stronger, but the water roots kept finding new cracks to exploit. 15 seconds later, Grix stopped moving. The crowd exploded. Half in shock, half in excitement. All of them suddenly very interested in the small human standing over a fighter 3 times her size. My datapad started buzzing with new bets. Lots of new bets. Clicks, I said slowly, watching Vera walk calmly back to her corner while medical drones dragged Grix's unconscious body out of the ring. What are the odds now? There was a long pause. They are adjusting, boss. 50-1 against making it to round 3. Some crazy fool just put down 10,000 credits on her winning the whole thing. I stared at the human. She was breathing hard, but not gasping, sweating, but not exhausted. She had not said a word. She had not celebrated. She just stood there, waiting for round 2. Well, I said, that was unexpected. Round 2 started exactly 4 minutes after round 1 ended. 4 minutes. That was how much rest Vera Kane got before they threw her back into the arena against a Kron serpent fighter named Sastura. 4 minutes to catch her breath, hydrate, and prepare to fight a creature that could crush steel pipes with its muscular coils. Medical drones hovered around her staging area, trying to scan for injuries, offering stim packs and tissue repair. Standard procedure. Every fighter got medical attention between rounds. It was required by galactic combat regulations, not because the Colosseum cared about fighter welfare, but because dead fighters could not put on a good show. Vera waved them off. Just waved them away, like she was declining an offer of street food, not emergency medical care after fighting a Thornclaw warrior. Is she insane? Blix asked. She has microfractures in her left hand. Her cortisol levels are spiking. She needs treatment. She also just won her first fight, I said. Maybe she knows something we do not. The bell rang again. Sestra was a completely different opponent. Where Grix had been all rage and forward momentum, the Kron were patient hunters. Sestra circled Vera slowly, her serpentine body coiling and uncoiling, looking for an opening. Kron could strike from 12 feet away. They had venomous fangs. They had crushing strength. They were ambush predators raised to an art form. Vera did not circle. She closed distance. Walked right at Sestra like she was approaching a business meeting. The Kron's hood flared in surprise. Then she struck, lightning fast. Fangs extended. Vera twisted. The strike missed her throat by millimeters. Before Sestra could retract, Vera grabbed the Kron behind the head with both hands and held on. Just held on, while Sestra thrashed and tried to coil around her. What is she doing? Someone in the crowd yelled. She is going to get crushed. But Vera was not getting crushed. She was moving with Sestra's coils, not against them. When the crons squeezed, Vera exhaled. When Sastira loosened to readjust her grip, Vera inhaled. She was breathing through the constrictions, staying conscious through sheer willpower and technique, and all the while, she held Sasavra's head immobilized. Kron needed to breathe too, it turned out. And when you could not move your head, could not create the muscular contractions needed to draw air through your respiratory system, you started to panic. Sastra's coils loosened. Her movements became frantic instead of controlled. Vera slammed the Kron's head into the arena floor. Once, twice, 3 times. Sestra went limp. Victory. Round 2. 6 minutes, start to finish. The crowd was no longer skeptical. They were fascinated. Betting terminals across the Colosseum lit up like a festival. I watched the odds shift in real time. 50-1 became 30-1, then 20-1. Credits were flowing like water, and every single one of them passed through my systems. Boss, this is crazy, Plix said. She should be exhausted. She should be injured. She should be broken. I know, but she is not. I know. Round 3. 6 minutes of rest. Vera drank water this time at least, but still refused medical treatment. The drones buzzed around her like frustrated insects, their scanners showing damage accumulation, bruised ribs, strained tendons, micro tears in muscle tissue. Nothing catastrophic, but it was adding up. Her opponent was a plasma-born named Flux. Now, plasma-borns were tricky. They were semi-solid, could shift their density, could burn through most materials. Fighting them was like fighting angry liquid fire. How do you punch something that could just flow around your fist? Vera apparently had an answer. She did not try to punch Flux. Instead, she grabbed a discarded piece of arena debris, part of a broken shield from an earlier fight, and used it like a scoop. When Flux tried to envelop her, she caught the plasma-born's mass in the shield and slammed it against the arena wall. Then she did it again, and again, treating a sentient energy being like it was mortar and she was the pestle. Plasma-borns could regenerate from almost anything, but they needed time to reconstitute. Vera did not give Flux that time. She kept slamming, kept disrupting the cohesion, until Flux's core energy signature flickered and died. Round 3. 9 minutes. I was starting to understand something, and I did not like it. Blix, pull up the humans file again. Everything we have on their species. Already did, boss. I have been reading it between rounds. Tell me something useful. Well, they are endurance predators. Back on their homeworld, before they developed technology, they used to hunt by just following prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They call it persistence hunting. They are not fast, but they do not stop. I watched Vera standing in her corner, breathing steady, eyes focused. She was not celebrating. She was not even acknowledging the crowd. She was just waiting, like a machine, like something that had one function and would execute that function until it stopped working. What else? They adapt, boss. It is their whole thing. They are not specialized for any environment, so they learn to handle all environments. Brains are wired for pattern recognition and problem solving. They see a challenge, they figure it out, they overcome it. It is, actually kind of terrifying when you think about it. Round 4 was announced. This time against a silicate monk who fought with 4 arms and perfect combat mathematics. Vera walked to the arena. The monk lasted 7 minutes. The odds shifted again. 10-1. I leaned back in my observation booth and had a thought that made my secondary stomach clench. We had not discovered a weak species when we met humanity. We had discovered something that survived by being too stubborn to die. And now one of them was in my arena, refusing rescue, refusing help, refusing to quit. Terrifying. By the time Vera Kane reached the championship round, she had been fighting for 4 hours and 17 minutes. She had defeated 9 opponents. 9 different species, 9 different fighting styles, 9 different ways to kill a human. And yet there she stood, still breathing, still moving, still refusing every offer of medical assistance like it was a personal insult. But she was hurt. Anyone with eyes could see it. Her left arm hung slightly lower than her right. Dislocated shoulder, probably from round 6 against the gravity-born who had tried to crush her into the floor. Her face was swelling on one side, a deep purple bruise spreading from her cheekbone to her jaw. Blood seeped through her combat gear in 3 places. Her breathing was labored, each inhale sharp and shallow. Cracked ribs, definitely. And now she had to face Bastion Prime, The crowd fell silent as the champion entered the arena. Not the excited silence from earlier rounds. This was different. This was respect, fear, awe. Bastion Prime was not just a fighter. He was a living legend, an unstoppable force of nature wrapped in armor plating that evolution had spent millions of years perfecting. He stood 9 feet tall. His species, the Aegis-born, were planet conquerors, natural warriors. Every square inch of his body was covered in interlocking bone plates that could deflect plasma fire. His forearms ended in fists that could shatter concrete. He had won the Grand Melee 7 times. 7. Most champions retired after one victory. Bastion Prime kept coming back because he loved it. He looked down at Vera, and for the first time all day, I saw something like respect in his eyes. "You have done well, human," his voice rumbled through the arena speakers. "You have earned an honorable death." Vera said nothing. She never said anything. She just raised her fists, favoring her good shoulder, and waited. The bell rang. Bastion Prime did not charge like Grix had. He did not circle like Terra. He walked forward with the inevitability of a planetary collision, each step measured and controlled. When he threw his first punch, it was not wild or emotional. It was precise, professional, a strike designed to end the fight immediately. Vera barely dodged it. The fist passed so close to her head that her hair moved. She tried to counter, but her injured arm would not respond fast enough. Bastion's second arm caught her in the ribs, the same ribs that were already cracked, and she went flying across the arena. The crowd gasped. Vera hit the wall hard, slid down, and I thought, this is it. This is where it ends. Nobody could take a hit like that and get back up. Nobody. She got back up, slowly, painfully, using the wall for support. But she got up. "Stay down," Bastion Prime said, and it was not a taunt. It was genuine advice. "You have nothing left to prove." Vera spat blood onto the arena floor and raised her fists again. Bastion came at her, and this time Vera did not try to dodge. She moved into the strike, inside his reach too close for his long arms to generate full power. She drove her elbow into the joint where his arm plates connected. Once, twice, 3 times. The same spot, over and over. Bastion swatted her away like an insect. She rolled with the impact, came up moving, and immediately closed distance again. This time she went for his knee, kicking the joint with everything she had left. The bone plates there were thinner, designed for flexibility. She kicked again. Again, her face twisted with pain and effort, but she did not stop. "What is she doing?" Plix whispered. "She cannot hurt him. Those plates are 6 inches thick." But I was starting to understand. She was not trying to hurt him. Not really. She was testing, probing, looking for weaknesses that might not exist, and if they did not exist, she would create them through sheer repetitive force. Bastion grabbed her with 2 arms and lifted her off the ground. He could have crushed her skull right then, could have thrown her hard enough to break every bone in her body, but he hesitated, just for a second, because even he could not quite believe what he was seeing. That second was enough. Vera twisted in his grip, got her legs around one of his arms, and locked her knees behind his elbow joint. Then she torqued her entire body weight against it. Bastion's arm plates were designed to withstand frontal impacts, not lateral stress. Something in the joint popped, not broke, but compromised. Bastion roared and slammed her into the ground. Vera stopped moving. The medical scanners went wild. Critical readings across the board. The crowd held its breath. 5 seconds passed. 10. Then Vera's hand twitched. Her fingers curled. And with a sound that was half gasp and half scream, she pushed herself onto her hands and knees. Bastion Prime stared at her, all 4 of his eyes wide. "No," he said quietly. "No, that is not possible." Vera stood up, swaying, bleeding, broken, but standing. And Bastion Prime, champion of champions, conqueror of 7 grand melees, did something I had never seen him do. He stepped back. Then he lowered his arms and bowed his head. "I yield," he said. The arena erupted in chaos. The medical bay was a circus of flashing scanners and panicked technicians. Vera Kane sat on an examination table, finally allowing treatment, and the readouts were horrifying. 3 cracked ribs, dislocated shoulder, severe muscle damage, internal bleeding, concussion, stress fractures in both hands. Her pain receptor readings were off the charts. The doctors kept looking at the scans, then at her, then back at the scans, like they were trying to reconcile two different realities. "How are you conscious?" the head physician, a Corellian with 6 medical degrees, asked. "These injuries. You should be in shock. You should be comatose. You should be screaming." Vera shrugged with her good shoulder. "Hurts less if you ignore it." I stood in the observation area, datapad clutched in my primary manipulator, watching this conversation unfold. Next to me, Blix was doing his species equivalent of hyperventilating. "Boss, we need to update the combat regulations," he chittered. "This is not normal. This is not safe. This is not right," the physician continued. "Miss Kane, you fought for over 4 hours with these injuries accumulating. Why did you refuse medical treatment between rounds? Did not need it. You clearly did need it. You are experiencing systemic trauma." "But I won, did I not?" Vera's expression did not change. Matter of fact, casual, like she had just finished a light workout instead of fighting 9 professional killers in succession. The physician threw up his manipulators in defeat and went back to treating her injuries. I activated my recording device and approached the examination table. "Miss Kane, I need to ask, for the official record, why did you enter the Grand Melee?" She looked at me with those disturbingly focused human eyes. "Prize money. Just prize money? Nothing else? No honor? No glory? No revenge quest or cultural obligation? Nope. Just needed the credits." I felt something cold settle in my gut. "So you risked your life, endured all this damage, fought through impossible odds for money?" "Yes, but you could have stopped. After the first round, after the second, any time, you could have yielded. No one would have judged you." For the first time, Vera smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. That would not have paid as well. And that was when I understood the truly terrifying thing about humans. They were not the strongest species, not the fastest, not the most naturally armed, but they had something worse. They had choice. They looked at pain, at damage, at impossible odds, and they chose to continue anyway. Not because they had to, because they wanted to. I filed my report that night, sent it through official channels to the Galactic Combat Federation, added a personal note at the end. Recommendation: update human threat assessment. They are not fragile, they are not weak, they are persistent predators who have turned that instinct inward. They hunt themselves, push themselves, break themselves, all in pursuit of goals only they understand. Bastion Prime yielded not because he was beaten, but because he recognized something in Vera Kane that terrified him. She would not stop, could not stop. Even when her body was failing, even when any rational being would quit, she kept coming. The galaxy has been treating humans like a harmless curiosity, a soft species good for trade and diplomacy. We were wrong. They are not harmless. They are just polite. And politeness, apparently, is optional. I closed the file and watched Vera Kane limp out of the medical bay. Prize credits transferred to her account, already planning her next fight according to the exit interview. Plix looked at me with all 6 of his eyes wide with concern. "Boss, what do we do if more humans start entering the arena?" I thought about it for a long moment. Then I started updating the betting algorithms. "We adjust the odds," I said, "and we pray they stay friendly. Because if humans ever decided that the rest of the galaxy was worth fighting seriously, not for sport or credits but for real reasons, well, we were all in trouble. The arena doors would seal behind them, and they would not ask for rescue. Not once." This case reveals that systems often fail not because they lack strength models, but because they underestimate persistence and decision-making under pressure. When success is measured only by power, endurance-driven strategies can rewrite the outcome entirely.